Hello everyone. I hope all of you are fine. And you must have watched my previous videos that we have released on the preliminary topics of the ESI. And namely, it was about the growth and development of the country vis-a-vis the various parameters that were, given as a part of the syllabus. And all those three parameters we have discussed in the detail in our previous videos. If you have not been able to watch till now, you can still go and watch all these videos on my YouTube channel. And today we are going to plunge into another important topic and very significant topic from where a large number of questions will be asked in your phase 2 examination. And the topic is Indian economy. So what we are going to discuss today is the economic history of India, having specific reference to the industrial policy and the labor laws that were framed and formulated in order to ensure that a lot of labor welfare schemes could be implemented, and thereby, giving relief to all those people who are deprived of some of their very, important rights. So, hi, I'm Professor P.K. Pathak, and as you know, we are going to have a discussion on the economic history of India. But before that, I'm going to just urge you, like earlier, that please do like, share, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and keep on receiving the interesting videos. It is my privilege to be able to address you and to get your attention. And so, therefore, I also request all of you to explore some more topics, not necessarily from the RBI phase 2 examination, which is what I'm already covering as per the syllabus. But we also can explore some of the important topics from the field of management, and I'll be happy to have a deliberation on these important topics as well. So now I'm going to share my slide so that we can start our conversation. I hope all of you can see this slide. Okay, so this is the topic of the day: economic history of India and changes in the industrial and labor policy. Because you know what, when we got freedom in 1947, the things were not as easy as it appears to be now. A lot of reforms were needed to be done. And therefore, the government of the country on those times was pressurized on many fronts, this also being one of that. So let us now proceed with the basic thing, and let us know the core concept as to what we are going to have discussion with the next slides. The first thing we are going to refer is the industrial policy. What is the industrial policy per se? So as you can see, the book's definition: industrial policy refers to a framework set by the government to regulate the manufacturing sector. And this was necessitated for the simple reason that there was a great divide between the management and laborers, having a lot of complaints against each other because there was no impeccable policy in practice. So the government of India was trying to rationalize all these things. So the ultimate motive was to improve upon the manufacturing sector. So what it does is it controls the industrial undertakings of the country, and through these industrial policies, the government tries to influence the ownership and the structure of the industries along with their performance, because their contribution is an important dimension in the national economic development in the broader perspective. So, in order to do that, and what was the underlying objective of the industrial policy? You can see maintaining a sustained growth in productivity, because ultimately what matters is the productivity. And what is productivity per se? By the way, productivity is nothing but the output to the input ratio. Okay, so whatever input you are putting in and how much output it is actually resulting into is a measure of the productivity. And the more high the productivity is, the more comfortable you are, and the more developmental endeavors can be taken up. The next objective was to enhance the employment in the industries because there was a large high degree of unemployment. Even now it is there, but 1947 the state of papers it was really very tricky. Then achieving optimum utilization of the human resource. What is optimum utilization? You need to utilize each and every resource that is available to you because the resources are very limited, and unless and until you utilize them optimally, you will not be able to enhance the productivity, which was our prime objective, as you can see in the point number 1. So, similarly, and human also being one of the prime resource, it is very important for the management of any undertaking to utilize these resources very wisely and ensure that optimum utilization is taking place. The next important objective was the international competitiveness, because one of the significant aspect of today's economy is having foreign exchange. So in order to have the foreign exchange, you need to export the items rather than importing. And even today, you can see that export-import ratio is very less in our country, in spite of large number of steps taken in this regard. So the significant objective was also to be competitive on the global front, so that your products are sought after by the foreign countries and thereby giving you a lot of foreign currency. And this is how the larger objective was to transform India into a leader in the global arena, which even now is a distant possibility going by the pace with which we are progressing. But one important example in this regard is China. In a way, less than 40 years of the time, because 1980, China was at par with our country. Okay, so but in last 40 years, they have drastic economic reforms, and now they have actually become the global leaders. But which is what we can do in the next 20-30 years down the line. So having these objectives in mind, the industrial policies were adopted, and let us know the history of all these things that were happening after the independence. As you can see, the first industrial policy resolution was announced on the April 8, 1948, almost after 7 months of the independence. Okay, and what it does, it stipulated the model of the Indian economic system to be a mixed economy. And you know what is mixed economy? Mixed economy is one in which we are having the attributes of the capitalist country, as also we are a social welfare nation. So while we are concerned about the welfare of the society in general, we are also not against capital formation by industrialists. So this is what makes it unique and mixed economy, unlike China, which is totally socialist and communist country. So since then, different policy resolutions and statements, actually the improvements over the previous ones, so happened. So for example, industrial policy resolution 1956, industrial policy statement 1969, then 1973, 1977, 80, 85, and 86. All these, these statements were improvements over their predecessors or the forerunners. Okay, so this is the history of the industrial policy since independence. But in spite of having so many revisions, indeed, and it still, lagged behind in many fronts. So, what was the observation then? The observation by the government was that all these policies had high level of dependence on often costly foreign capital, and as I already have brought out that having foreign exchange is one of the parameter or the benchmark for having an improved economy. So here what you're doing is you are spending that foreign capital rather than earning it. So the government felt the need for reform because these things made it very difficult for India to service the external borrowings, because a lot of loans and borrowings have happened from the World Bank, from the IMF, and so many other such institutions. Apart from that, the external events like the Gulf War of 90s added to the situation. So ultimately, the government of the day in those times decided to go with the reforms. And what happened? You can see the economic reforms in India. Okay, new economic policy was adopted, and that is widely known as New Industrial Policy 1991. And what the government tried to achieve through these is to change the very nature of the industrial policies till that time. So some of the features of the new industrial policy, uh, you can see the reservation of the public sector, so that public sector can be even taken over by the people, the private entrepreneurs, thereby improving their productivity, their efficiency, and making good of their losses, because a lot of public sectors were having a lot of losses in their income. Then delicensing. So the license quota permit was done away with, and everything was made free for the people. So people could trade freely, people could buy anything freely. So this also was a big economic reform. This investment in the public sector, so that the public sector can be handed over to the private entrepreneurs, and reducing the load on the government. You know what? The If you go by the economics, no government has got any business to be in the business. But we were having certain public sectors only to ensure the public welfare in particular. So when the state of affairs started improving, it was pertinent for the government to go with the disinvestment of the public sector, and thereby releasing some of its load to the private entrepreneurs and bringing efficiency in the process. Then liberalization of the foreign investment. So we started asking for the direct foreign investment, FDI, in particular. And also we had a lot of, foreign technology agreement through these policy reforms. So foreign technology reforms were intended to ensure that we are not only, buying some of the highly technical equipments, the defense equipments, or for that matter, any other equipment or machines, but also we are able to have a reach on the technical know-how. And in some cases, the manufacturing of all those equipments within India was stopped. So this could have led to employment generation for the local people. So these were some of the features. It had a lot of impact on the economy, and many improvements were done. So ultimately, this was a paradigm shift in the functioning of the industrial sector. And as you know, several reforms have been introduced since then to rectify issues and drawbacks. However, in spite of having done all this, we are yet to reach the optimum level of the outcomes. And the simple reason is the illiteracy among certain part of the society. Okay, so another sector, as we know, is the labor. So let us look at how the labor laws in India were developed. As I have told you that a lot of struggle was there between the capital and the labor, because the labor thought that capital had been exploiting the labor market to generate maximum profit, and how they could do it because they had an economic footing and the power. So therefore, the government intervened here, and it brought adequate labor laws so as to help in providing support to the laborers. Okay. So the government of India took considerable measures to ensure the labor welfare through various schemes and enacted certain laws also. So what were the objectives of these labor laws? The two prime objective was one, the reasonable wages and optimum working conditions for the worker at the workplace, so that the worker also has its say while negotiating with the management. and also to provide facilities like skill development, increase in medical and social security by the employer. So several laws were enacted by the government. However, the laws are, although they have been implemented, it is not giving the adequate outcomes because of the illiteracy and the lack of awareness. Many people do not know even that the law exists. Okay, so now let us see what are some of the important laws that were enacted during those times. These are some of the important acts right from the Freedom, the Factory Act 1948, the Payment of Wages Act 1936, the Industrial Employment Act 1946, and the Workmen's Compensation Act 1920, because some of the acts which were useful, they are being continued even today. So the Workmen's Compensation Act 1923, the Trade Union Act 1946, the Minimum Wages Act 1948, Employees State Insurance Act 1948, and the Employment Provident Fund, Family Pension Fund, and Deposit Linked Insurance Fund Act 1952. So these are some of the important acts before independence and after independence altogether. So these continue to hold good in our national economy and its implementation. Now coming to the labor welfare schemes in India, because the government realizes that labor are on the receiving end and they need to be protected through some of the welfare schemes. Okay, so they wanted to provide the social security and the healthcare facilities to ensure the labor welfare. And for that, a lot of rectification have already been done in the labor laws. So now we can see some of the labor welfare schemes, and you will know that many of them, they have been very effective and they have been implemented to with the highest items. So these are some of them, like Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Mandan Yojana, which is primarily for the senior people. Okay, the aged people in the labor group. And the next one is Aam Aadmi Bima Yojana, the Rural Employment Generation Program, in which various activities are being done by the government to ensure that there is a rural employment generation in the process. We have the Dayal Upadhyay Gramin Kaushal Yojana, the skill development program for the rural areas, and Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana, National Urban Livelihood Mission, Labor Welfare Fund, then Manarega, the famous scheme, you already know it, and rehabilitation of the bonded laborers. Okay, because bonded laborers is not as per the law as of now. Okay. So that's all for the day. I hope you might have come across and have got awareness about the basic economic history of our country with specific reference to the labor laws. And you also might have established that some of the labor laws that were enacted for the benefit of the labor are actually giving the outcomes, the intended outcomes. So all these things you must make a note of the important points so that you remember whenever you try to review it, and this will be good for preparing for your phase 2 examination. So short notes are always being suggested for you. So irrespective of whether or not you have seen the video, you must try to make certain notes of your own. And these videos are going to help you out in this regard. So in case you got such inquiry, you must post it on my email ID. I'll be very more than happy to go ahead and try to clarify your queries. So on this note, I conclude for the day. I hope you have got awareness about the topic of the day. So next day we'll be coming with more economic topics on the day as per the syllabus. So till then, enjoy yourself, have a nice day, and watch these videos as and when I'm releasing it. So thanks a lot for being courteous and watching this video till the end. And before we part, actually, I request you once again to do like, share, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and keep on receiving such interesting videos. Okay. So once again, thank you very much.